welcome to the channel. I am Jake. Thanks for tuning in here today. In this video we're going to take a look at yellow birch, scientific name Betula alleganiensis in the Betulaceae family, which is of course the birch family. We'll flip the camera around, we'll take a look at some things. Stick with it. So we'll start with taking a look at the leaves here, and you can see they come out in pairs quite often. They don't always, but they often do. There's a pair here, 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 alternating their way up the stem. One pair on one side, and then a pair on the opposite side, moving the way up the twig there, the stem. Look at the leaf margin, and we'll take a look at this one here. It shows it pretty well. This is a doubly serrate leaf margin, meaning there will be larger teeth with smaller teeth on top of that larger tooth. Very common among the birch species. A lot of times the base of the leaf will look a little bit lopsided, as it does here. That is not always the case. That is not 100% true all the time, but it is quite common for the yellow birch to have a lopsided base on the leaf. And I'll just move on to the twig from here. We'll look at this one. See, very light brown color there with a lot of these lighter colored dots in there. Those are lenticels, and the lenticels on the twigs are going to be round, as you see in this individual here. And if you were to scratch this with your thumbnail, there is a very slight wintergreen aroma that comes from this, and that can be helpful in identifying this. There is another species of birch, black birch, that has a very, very strong wintergreen smell. This one is not quite as strong, but it is definitely there. And here we can see the bark on a mature yellow birch. And this is showing something right here that I'm just going to go ahead and talk about now. It's very common on yellow birch for the bark to slough off in a horizontal direction. So left or right, one way or the other. It very seldom will come off this way. It comes off around the tree in a circular fashion, and you can see this one is starting to peel away there. I did not pull that up. That is a natural thing, and you can see there is another little piece right here. This one is not doing a whole lot of peeling, but it is very, very common and perfectly natural for a healthy tree to do that. You can actually see there are some smaller bits right here that are peeling up just a little bit there. Very, very common thing for yellow birch to do. Very light in color. We'll come down here below where that moss is growing so you can see the color better right here. Very silvery white color, very, very smooth, and you can see a lot of these horizontal lines in here. Those are very large lenticels on the trunk of the tree. They transition from those small dots or pinpoints to these longer horizontal lines as it matures. And if we look right in here at the base of these two trees, these are both yellow birches. There's one here and one here. And if you notice all these roots coming out on top of the ground. Now, one reason for that is because they are right next to water. So this soil is going to be very inundated with moisture. They have to be able to get a little bit of oxygen in there too. But this is a relatively common trait with yellow birch, and this is referred to as stilt roots. And what that means is the trunk of the tree will essentially stand on stilts, as opposed to, I'll swing the camera around here, a more conventional trunk that comes directly out of the ground. As you see right in here, you see all of these roots coming along through these rocks. This tree, there is probably a gap underneath this tree that was filled up by silt when the river floods. So that was not actually touching the ground probably when it was younger. And that's a very common thing. You can actually find these growing in upland sites. A lot of times the seeds will begin to sprout on top of a rotten log, and the roots will come down off the top of that log into the ground, and as that log rots away, decomposes and disappears underneath that tree, there will be a gap between the base of the trunk and the actual ground itself. So that is yellow birch, Betula allegheniensis, and I do apologize for all the background noise throughout this video. I am next to a pretty fast flowing river here, but where I'm at in the Greenbrier section of Great Smoky Mountains National Park, I'm just under 2,000 feet here, and next to creeks and rivers is going to be one of the best places to find yellow birch at this elevation. I forget the elevation range that you would see in a textbook or a field guide. I'll put that up on screen. But for a bit of context, if you are familiar with Great Smoky Mountains National Park, about halfway between the Chimney Tops Trailhead and Newfound Gap, a bit higher in elevation than the Alum Cave Bluffs Trail, that's where you're going to start picking up a lot of yellow birch. So if you're headed to Newfound Gap from Gatlinburg, Tennessee, be on the lookout once you pass Alum Cave for yellow birch growing alongside the road. There's quite a bit up there. But I believe that is everything I had for this video. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned something. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in a comment down below. And until next time, go forth, enjoy yourself, and always come home safe.